Everyone should know that this exists.
Otherwise, this is real awkward and we're just on the internet.
I've already embarrassed myself enough on the internet, so this is just add a tally. Wow, I really should have prepared a lot more for this. But in today's video, Andy Smith from Andy Smith tagged me in the YouTube Friends tag, and no, this is not related to the TV show Friends. That's a totally separate thing. This is the YouTube Friends tag where you ask 5 random, maybe book-related questions, maybe not, to someone who you have not met before in real life, in flesh and blood, but you consider a friend on the YouTubes. I consider, oh god, directions, Angela a friend. It's really awkward if she doesn't say the same for me.
If you were a chick, who's the one guy you would sleep with? John Stamos. What? Did we just become best friends? Yep!
So
Had to get this done soon because we're about to meet in person, and then it would have been null and void.
it's true. So before I get into the questions, tell us about your channel.
My channel's Literature Science Alliance. It's a normal booktube channel where sometimes I talk about science, but I mostly talk about fantasy and sci-fi books, mostly an adult. And I have fuzzy cats, which occasionally show up.
That is the real treat that I am looking forward to whenever we meet, is meeting your cats. Before I guess, start and get into the questions, Angela is pretty much the one that gets me into all of my new favorites. So if you like me because of my love for the Winter Night trilogy, it's because of Angela. So
I'm also someone who likes a lot of fantasy that Evie doesn't like, but that's because I read for pleasure almost exclusively, and Evie likes to feel things and think a lot.
It's because I don't feel at all. So I think we've clarified and we've come to the conclusion that if you like something, there's a 50-50 shot that I will like it. So
yeah, and I honestly, now I have a pretty good barometer. I can pretty much tell you straight up if a fantasy book would probably work for you or not at this point. Just fantasy, though. I'm not quite as... Sci-fi is a different beast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I was actually talking to Andy on his Discord, and somebody was like, oh, you have any sci-fi recommendations? I was like, pretty much only, like, Dune and Ted Chiang stories. And Andy's like, you're anti-sci-fi? I was like, no, I'm not anti-sci-fi. I just haven't read a lot of sci-fi, so...
No, you should read A Memory Called Empire. Specifically, that's going to feel good to you.
I got them both because I'm like, oh, Angela likes them, and she says they're kind of like Dune. Okay. All right. Who is the best Power Ranger? Not like your favorite Power Ranger, but the objectively best Power Ranger.
I mean, it has to be Tommy, right? Like, he's been like 3 different Rangers, or maybe 4.
Further addendum question is, which is the best Ranger incarnation of Tommy?
Okay, so full disclosure, my first introduction to Power Rangers was not the original Power Rangers. It was Power Rangers Dino Thunder, which basically was just soft rebooting the original. Like, it had all the same tropes and plot lines. It even had, like, the Dino Zorgs. My sibling and I were obsessed. And it had the same Tommy plot arc, but with a different character who was, like, the evil White Ranger or something like that. So I first met him as a Gold Ranger, and he had, like, a really cool long neck dinosaur, I think. I don't know. This is going way back. But I do think the trope of the, like, good guy who doesn't know he's the bad guy and falls in love with someone on the other side, like, that whole trope was, like, my thing. So it probably is the original Power Ranger version. I haven't watched the other ones where he's, like, a Silver Ranger or a Red Ranger. I'm sure I'm getting this all messed up. I just know he's been in so many.
So allegedly, this is all hearsay, because the internet lies. I guess the guy who played Tommy, or maybe the character Tommy, is in newer Power Rangers shows, but he's like a teacher or something.
That's what he was in Dino Thunder.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay. Never mind. Carry on.
In Dino Thunder, he was a mentor figure. I think he was probably only in his 20s, because we all learn once we're adults that, oh, all the people teaching us in high school are like 20 to 30. And age is a lie. But no, he's like their mentor figure.
Okay. I thought he was an actual, like...
He becomes a ranger, but not in, like, I think the first arc. He, like, finds a golden egg, and that's how he gets his Zorg and stuff. I watched a lot of Dino Thunder specifically.
The original is where it's at.
I don't disagree. It's just that's just not what was on the TV when we were watching it in syndication. Really glad I had an answer for that. There was a non-zero chance that I had not consumed Power Rangers.
The other option was if you didn't have an answer, I was going to judge you for not having an answer, because who wouldn't have an answer for Best Power Ranger?
Okay, well, at least I had one. My sibling will be proud.
All right, next one. Your favorite musical number or song of all the musicals?
I hate you. Of all
I only
the
asked this because you saw In the Heights. So.
Well, I love In the Heights. Okay, so I have to pare this down because every musical within itself will make me cry because of a musical number. Because you know how some people cry at every book, but I don't do that. I cry at every musical. All right, In the Heights is up there in terms of favorites. Once on This Island, Aida. I'm trying to think of my favorite musicals, and then I'm going to parse it down. In the Heights is like currently right now super fresh in my mind. If you want to talk like movie musical, the thing they did for 96,000, which is one of the bigger numbers in the actual stage production, is like phenomenal cinematography. I was blown away that they went there. On stage though, oh, this is going to be such a basic answer. No, I'm changing it. Okay, I was going to go with a Hamilton one, and I'm like, oh, everyone loves Hamilton, which is not bad because it's great. Like, there's a reason why everyone loves it. All right, so there's a musical called Once on This Island that came out, I want to say 1990, and it's based off a book written by a Trinidadian author. I'm pretty sure it's Trinidad, and it was remade to the stage. Now, it was not made with Caribbean folk helping make it, so it's probably been not held to its firmest ideals, but it's still, I think, really great. You have an island, and the hurricane just came through, and it's the story that these village people are telling these kids to help distract them from the hurricane about this girl, Timoon, who the gods had chosen to go on this quest to help, like, basically overcome a forbidden love, Romeo-Juliet scenario. And it's tragic, and I cry. But at the end, there's a song called Why We Tell the Story. And, like, first of all, a song that's so thematically tied to, like, why storytelling is important. Like, why do we convey these thoughts to people? And, like, I just cry because by the end of the song, the little girl that they're telling the story to starts singing the beginning of the musical, and it's like the cycle continues. It's a masterpiece, and no one knows about it, but it's one of my favorites, and I treated myself to the Broadway revival because I've known it my whole life, and I cry listening to it in the car, so, like, yeah. But, right, like, that whole idea of, like, why do we tell stories, and it's, like, right after this tragic moment, because it is a tragedy, and suddenly we have this tragic song, and then it goes into this upbeat, like, joyful celebration. And it's just, like, amazing.
That reminds me of, well, to be basic, it's Quiet Uptown from Hamilton.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who sings it, and I think that's the power of a song in general, musical, is that whoever sings it, that it draws the emotion out of you. And I'm just like,
When I saw that in person, like, I don't think I cried when I listened to it, but when the actress goes all in on that scene, I'm just like, oh, okay.
I was on the verge of hyperventilating when I saw, mind you, the, like, traveling show or whatever that they did. And my poor husband was just, like, stroking my back. And he'd be like, it's okay. And I was like,
Ryan just, like, looks at me funny when I cry during musicals because I'm normally just, like, not an emotional being. And I'm just, like, when I watched Hamilton on Disney Plus, I was eating a burrito and, like, kind of crying into the burrito at just, like, the opening number. It makes you feel things. It's true. The last number in Hamilton, it took me forever to not cry while it was playing so I could sing it, because I love singing along, but I used to just get so emotional when, like, Eliza comes up to sing about the monument and the orphanage. I would just die. Oh, I love musicals. They're so good. I wish they were more accessible. They are very unaccessible storytelling mediums. They're so expensive to put on and to go see.
oh yeah. That's why I'm hoping that with the whole Hamilton, you know, Disney Plus filming thing, that maybe more will do that. But
yeah, I mean, more and more have happened. Like, MTV streamed Legally Blonde, the musical, which is a deceptively fantastic musical. Like, I know Legally Blonde's just like a fun, campy movie. It's a hysterically fun, campy musical. Like, it's top notch. They're like neck and neck. Shrek the musical, not so much, but Legally Blonde is really great.
Ugh, that's Shrek the Musical. Next one, this is book related, but a work that you either think is unadaptable or hasn't been adapted yet, but you would want to see.
Okay. I mean, this is tricky because I'm not like, so it depends on your definition of a good adaptation, right? Like, I think some people want adaptations to be like, recreate my experience, but in this media, which I don't think's ever worked out very well. But like, little kid me, when I saw Harry Potter, was like, they cut out that Quidditch scene and like this scene didn't have, like I wanted all of my scenes in the movie, and obviously they couldn't do that, but like 10-year-old me wanted the stars. I don't know. And like now I'm very much the opposite, where it's like, well, I don't want to have the same experience. Like, I want that world. I want those people. I want similar like thematic emotions. But like, I've already had this one experience. I'd rather have a new, different experience. Because like the first thing that came to mind is like the Broken Earth trilogy, which is getting adapted, which I am excited about. But because of the framing of it, and we can't talk about the framing without spoiling it, but because of the narrative framing, which is such a cool part of it, you can't, I don't think, do that effectively. And it's kind of like how Arrival does a different framing for the movie than it does in the short story for the story of your life and others. Like, that has to be different. A twist for one just can't be the same twist in the other, so you have to lean on the other strengths of that media. So I think that's the first one. Another one that I've been wanting ever since I read it was the Hyperion Cantos, because it's like sci-fi horror, and I just want to know what the strike looks like.
Plug for shelf space pick for September.
Yeah, I was so excited when Alan asked me. I was just like, oh yeah, I've been wanting to read it. And now you're telling me we don't have to read it till like September? Yes, because my summer is booked. I think originally his Discord was going to read it this summer, but now they're reading Shadows of Apt or something.
Yes.
It's like a 10-book series or something, right? It's very long. I'm already in over my head in big fantasy series, so I should probably not.
Yeah, I really need to prioritize like standalones, not just of fantasy, but like there's so many like literary fiction books that I've had so much interest in, but then they get pushed to the side because of buddy reads of fantasy and stuff.
You're in the part of book friends where you are learning when to say no and when you have to let it go.
It's true. It's true. If you could only have one author's works, not stuff that they're working on, in existence, like, and that's the only kind of, I guess, canon in literature, who would it be?
Jemison. I mean, it's between, for me and my personal taste, it's between Sanderson and Jemison, but Jemison has a tiny bit more variety. I mean, I have reread most of Sanderson like 4 times each, so obviously there's some longevity there for me. And there are more books in Sanderson than there are with Jemison. But everything that's out by Jemison right now is a complete thought. Like, yes, there's the beginning of the Great Cities trilogy, but that book in itself is a satisfying book.
They all feel so different, but yet so distinctly her.
Yeah, her authorial voice is always very Jemison, but like the character range differs, the settings differ. Like, a flaw, it's not a flaw if you want what it is, but the thing Sanderson I have noticed does is he doesn't have like maybe archetypes for male and female characters, but I do keep kind of re-meeting similar characters with slightly different framings to them over and over again. It doesn't quite happen in Jemison works. Like, you can meet a character in the Stormlight Archives and you can see the bits and pieces of them in Elantris and Mistborn and things like that. Like I said, not that they're the same characters, but... And I also think thematically, like, when I first read Sanderson, I wasn't thinking thematically. I was reading a story. But it's not very diverse in themes, which I think there's more fun to pick apart in Jemison.
I won't go into a Sanderson rant. It's okay.
I even picked Jemison. I was just telling you what my top 2 were.
No, I know. I was kind of thinking these questions, and I'm like, she's probably going to say Jemison or Sanderson.
One of my top 5 authors.
Who are the other 3 of the top 5?
Ted Chiang's up there, Karen Lord, and Yoon Ha Lee. I made a video about this recently, so I actually have a list.
My memory is crap.
Oh, I wasn't calling you out. It was like, if I hadn't made that video, I would not know.
1, 2, 3. Yep, okay. So, last question. If you had to eat one thing, whether that be a dish or a particular, like, food, for the rest of your life, and that's the only thing you could have, what would you eat?
I'm pretty sure this has to be chocolate. And I don't mean that as in like stereotypical all women love chocolate, but I do think I don't remember the last day that's gone by that I haven't consumed at least a handful of chocolate chips. I just consume chocolate every day. Now, could any human exist off one type of food of any type? Probably not. I don't know the superfood that would give me all the nutrients I would need to survive. But before I die, I'll have a good time having dark chocolate and milk chocolate and like all the variety. I do love chocolate. I'm probably low-key addicted, but that's okay.
All right. So with that, that is the YouTube friends tag. We're going to go do the other half now. I should probably tag people. So I'm going to tag Kate from the Almost Book Doctor, and I'm going to tag Klaus from the Contradictorian. And I really hope that Klaus is able to get Katrina on, because that would be hysterical.
That'd be fantastic. Honestly, I want to see Klaus interrogate like anyone, because that's what these feel like a little bit. But
I mean, hopefully it's not like, answer this question.
You started off with a Power Rangers question, and that was super niche. We've never talked about Power Rangers with each other.
We're the same age. It's just I made an assumption and it landed. So
valid.
Thank God. Yeah, so thank you, Angela, for joining. I really appreciate it. Kate and Klaus, please, for God's sakes, do this tag. Otherwise, it's going to be really awkward. I will leave a link to Angela's video down below, as well as obviously to her channel, because honestly, if you're subscribed to me, there's no way in hell you're not subscribed to her. So, but just in case, there you go. And until next time, I will see you guys later, I guess.